The shopping mall was unusually quiet that evening. The lights flickered slightly and the air conditioning hummed with a low, eerie sound. It was nearly closing time, and most stores had already shut their doors. Only a few shoppers remained, wandering through the dimly lit corridors. Emily, a 19-year-old girl, had stopped by after work to buy a dress for her friend's birthday party. She moved from store to store, unaware that she was about to walk into something far more sinister than a simple shopping trip. She entered a boutique near the end of the mall, where dim yellow lights cast unsettling shadows on the walls. A mannequin stood by the window, dressed in a beautiful red gown that shimmered in the dull light. Emily reached out and ran her fingers over the fabric, but the moment she touched it, she felt something strange, a pulse, as if the dress was alive, breathing beneath her fingertips. Beautiful, isn't it? Emily spun around. The store was empty. The cashier's desk was unattended, and the only other figure in sight was another mannequin in the corner, its head slightly tilted toward her, as if watching. She swallowed hard, dismissing the uneasy feeling creeping up her spine. Picking up the dress, she walked toward the fitting room. As she reached for the curtain, she noticed it swaying slightly, as if someone had just stepped out. She hesitated before pulling it open. Empty. Stepping inside, she locked the door behind her. The mirror on the wall had a small crack in one corner, and the overhead light flickered. As she slipped into the dress, she heard a faint sound. Tap, tap, tap. It was coming from just outside the fitting room. Emily's breath caught in her throat. She bent down to look under the stall, expecting to see a pair of feet waiting just outside. There was nothing, just silence. Then, the lights went out. A sharp gasp escaped her lips. She fumbled for her phone, using the screen's glow to illuminate the room. That's when she saw it. A figure in the mirror. Not her reflection. A girl, identical to her, wearing the same red dress, stood behind her, but her face was all wrong. Her eyes were hollow, black pits. Her lips stretched into an unnaturally wide grin. Her pale hands reached out toward Emily's shoulders. Emily screamed and turned around. There was no one there. The fitting room door suddenly slammed open on its own. Terrified, she bolted out of the store, running down the mall's darkened halls. Something was wrong. The once vibrant mall was now eerily silent. Storefronts were empty. The escalators had stopped moving. The food court was abandoned. Tables overturned. Had the mall closed while she was inside? She spied a security guard standing at the far end of the corridor. His back was turned to her. "Sir, please help me," Emily called out, her voice shaking. Slowly, the man turned around. His face was wrong, his skin unnaturally pale, his eyes sunken. His lips stretched into a smile too wide for any human. "You shouldn't have stayed." His voice wasn't his own. It was layered, distorted, like multiple people speaking at once. Emily turned and ran for her life. She sprinted toward the mall's exit, but when she reached it, she came to a terrifying realization. The glass doors were gone. In their place was a smooth, unbroken wall. She pounded on it, screaming for help. Behind her, the security guard laughed, a twisted, hollow sound that made her blood run cold. She never left. A whisper floated through the air. Emily turned, and there she was, the girl from the mirror, standing in the middle of the mall, her head tilted, her grin stretching wider. Emily tried to move, but her body refused to obey. The air around her thickened, pressing against her lungs. Cold fingers wrapped around her ankles. She looked down. Dozens of hands were emerging from the floor, clawing at her, pulling her down into the cold, black abyss beneath her feet. She struggled, screamed, fought with all her strength, but it was no use. The last thing she saw before darkness consumed her was the boutique's display window. The mannequin in the red dress was no longer just a mannequin. It was her. Her frozen, lifeless face stared out from behind the glass, her wide, terrified eyes forever trapped in that moment.